and welcome to another episode of Canary Knits. I'm your host, Antoinette. Welcome. If you're new here, I'm a knit and crochet fiber artist. I spin a little bit here and there. I want to get more into it, so that'll definitely be something I'm focusing on in the next year. Today I have a lot of energy. I've had a lot of coffee, and in a way I'm kind of reeling because I participated in my very first craft market as Canary Knits, and my very first craft market in over 15 years. And it was a success. And I'm really excited to share with you today some tips. I want to insert a little bit of footage of the craft fair here. Please enjoy. I participated in the winter art market at Capgun Studios in Kansas City, Missouri. This is a gorgeous studio space with amazing lighting. I just loved it. My booth buddy was Tierra Dawn Creations, and she makes amazing miniatures, like little tiny elf houses. They're so adorable, and it was great to have her there with me. Having a booth buddy allowed me to relax a little bit with a friend. As I've mentioned, this was my first market booth ever as Canary Knits, and my first booth in over 15 years selling my goods. I also have shops available online. This is part financial necessity and also just part me getting back out there after having kids. I really liked the diversity of this market. There was a person doing tarot readings, someone that made really cool caftans, some artists. I didn't really look around very much because I was so nervous, but definitely at the next one, which is already planned for March, I will definitely look around a lot more. I forgot to take pictures of myself sitting on that couch because I wanted to sit on it all day. It was so awesome. Overall, this was a really great experience, and I'll definitely be doing more events and hopefully doing more events with Tierra. The kind of crafting I'm talking about today is kind of crafting out of financial necessity or need. We're going to talk about how to do a craft market if you have no or very little money to spend on supplies, and how to be successful. If you're following my story or you've been here before, you may know that I don't normally sell my goods. I started selling things within the last 6 months out of financial necessity. Like many of us in this economy, I am struggling. I have shared that I am a single parent. So I have 2 young daughters, and there just can never really be enough funds for them, right? They want to do gymnastics and they're interested in all the arts, as am I. And there's never enough money for yarn at the end of the day. So I have started selling again, and I have things available on Etsy, Depop, Mercari, and TikTok Shop. And the things I like about having things listed on different platforms is that on some of the platforms you can make me offers. And I really like that because I am open to offers, trades, or barters. So if you're interested in that, definitely hit me up. Okay, so going into this craft market, I knew that I didn't have a lot of money for any sort of supplies, and so it really was just use what you have. And I was able to use all of the I had stocked up on chenille, the premier yarn chenille from the Dollar Tree. That's $1.25. I had stocked up on it to make a bunch of scrunchies, and it came in really handy with making amigurumi plushies. Now, I don't normally make amigurumi plushies. The reason I did make these is specifically for the market, and I did have a lot of fun making them. They were made with love. I won't make things if I don't enjoy making them. But I primarily enjoy making fashions, and I did sell a fashion item, and that just makes my heart sing so much. So definitely feeling great about that. So my number one tip for going into a market out of financial necessity, right? Like this is not for fun. You're not like preparing for months for this market. You really just feel like you need to make some income and you have maybe a built up inventory. So find a market with a pretty low or nothing booth fee if you can. Check community centers, check local art collectives. The one I went to, I'm sure I mentioned, was at Cap Gun Studios in Kansas City. Check them out if you're local to me. But art markets with low or very reasonable entry fees exist. You can find them, do that, and use what you have. Really, really, really look into combining different yarns to get the desired yarn width that you want. I made plushies, but I didn't have any actual plushie yarn. I did actually have some in my stash, but I didn't feel like using it because I just didn't. The color didn't really speak to me at the moment. It's like a calico cat color. I use it for making kitty cats. But I didn't do it in this instance. So use what you can by combining your yarns. Just because you want to make plushies doesn't mean you can't make plushies. Heck, even use t-shirts. I've done a tutorial before on how to use t-shirts to make t-shirt yarn. So if that's something you're interested in, do that. Do what you're interested in. Yes, because I think people can tell if you're making things that you're not interested in. My number 2 tip for doing a market out of financial necessity or need is to have things in a variety of price ranges. Do not undersell yourself, please. If you undersell yourself, it devalues the entire market. It's really an iffy thing to do. I was guilty of doing it in my younger days. I used to be like, well, why aren't I selling things? Maybe if I lower my prices. No, and I don't know why, no, but just don't. Stick to prices that make you a reasonable income. Don't undersell yourself, but do have things in a variety of price ranges. For example, I had amigurumi frogs for $7 a frog for the tiny ones and up to $12 a frog for the bigger ones. And that's just based on cost of material, how long it took me to make them, all of that jazz. I had scrunchies anywhere from $5 to $7 to $13 a scrunchie. I had, what am I thinking? Octopi from $5 to $7 to $13, and the $13 one didn't sell, but all the other ones sold. So I just wanted to let you know, having a range of prices gives more people access to your market if that's what you're interested in. Definitely don't undersell yourself, because I did sell some fashion for like a reasonable price, and I'm really happy that that happened. My number 3 tip for doing a market is to have change available and be able to take cards. If you have Venmo was my lifesaver. I was not prepared. I did not follow my number 3 tip. I was not prepared and I could not take cards, but I did have my Venmo, so people were able to open the Venmo app and scan my Venmo and then pay me that way. And that was really, really handy. I'm working on getting my card set up, but I was not prepared. So this tip is just something I thought of after the fact, like definitely be prepared. I did have change available. I'm glad. I only had 2 cash transactions, but I think that depends on where you're at. I think in some places you would have many more cash transactions, and I'm very glad that I was happy. I'm happy that I was prepared. People recommend getting change, like $100 in change, different 10s, 20s, 5s, and change. I was not that prepared. I just had a buttload of change that I had in a coin purse, and then I had some ones that I dug out of the bottom of my purse. So don't be like me, be more prepared, because it's just better to be prepared. You look more professional, and then if people do want, more people do want to pay in change, then you're able to take those payments. Signage. My number 4 tip is to get creative with signage if you're doing a market at the last minute. If you can afford signs, get some. I could not afford signs. My wonderful booth buddy Tiara did have wonderful signs. I believe she made hers on Canva and just got them printed, and they looked great. So Canva Premium is $12.99 a month. If you can get that, you can work wonders, darling. You can work wonders with Canva. But they do have a free version as well, if that is more what you're comfortable with. And you can make a bunch of different signs. You can get them printed. You can save them. Make sure you have signage. Like I said, I did not. So this is just a tip that I'm thinking of after the fact. I'm like, oh, I wish I had better signage. But I did have my business cards with my price tags, and each item was individually priced. I think it's important, even if you have signs stating prices of things, to have things individually priced, because my little buddies are like individual little buddies, and each one is slightly different. So I did have slightly different prices based on the materials used and the time it took to make them. And people seem to respond to that. And my last tip is something I pretty much already talked about, but just to make sure you're finding a market with an affordable entry fee. I've seen them in the Kansas City area as high as $200 or $300. And for me personally, that's not affordable. Like I said, single parent. This is just like a side hustle I do on the side because I love it. And yeah. Those are my tips for how to have a successful market, I guess, pseudo-successful, I don't know. I do think this market was a success because I made a profit and I made some connections. I got some custom orders that I'm so excited. I'll be working on those this week. And I had a blast doing it. And what kept me from doing markets before was just executive dysfunction. I have pretty bad ADHD, and I wasn't able to tame the beast that is ADHD until relatively recently. And it's still not completely tamed. There were items like things behind me, things that were made that I didn't bring to the market because I was kind of panicking at the last minute. Like at the last minute, I was like, maybe I shouldn't do a market. Like, just had mega imposter syndrome. So I guess another tip would be to believe in yourself, because if you believe in yourself, then people will respond to your product, I think. And as we got more into it, I started to feel more confident and I had a lot of fun. And definitely my booth buddy Tiara Dawn helped. Check out her shop. Everything is linked below. I don't have too many other things to talk about this week. I just wanted to make a quick video about the market. I'm not doing Vlogmas. No way. But I love everybody that is. It's so cool. I am working on a mesh top in like a beautiful emerald green color. I'm not sure you can really see the color in the camera. Oh, you kind of can. It's like a little bit more rich than it's showing up as. But I'm working on a mesh tee in the style of the other black mesh tee that I made, because the other black mesh tee that I made sold at the Capgun Studios craft market and at Winter Craft Market. And I'm so excited that it has a new home, and I think it's going to be really lovely on the person who bought it. So yeah, I'm making another one. I'm making a whole collection, actually. I feel really inspired and really motivated. So I'm making emerald green, and I'm going to make like a charcoal blue, like a steely blue color. And I would also like to make a crimson color, and then I would like to make another black color. So all of those are in the works, and like I said, I have 2 custom orders for Market in the works. So I will be a busy person this week. I tend to post like shorts or little TikToks, whatever, reels, the things that I'm working on. If you give me a follow, you will be subscribed to those. So check it out. Thanks for joining me. Again, I'm Antoinette, your host of Canary Knits. Later.